External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has given out a direct and a firm reply, this time specifically about India's alignment approach to diplomacy. Remember, at a time like this, when India has been balancing ties both with the United States of America on one side and Russia on another, while US and Russia may not see eye to eye, India's purchase of Russian oil was a question put to the External Affairs Minister, where, remember, the Western media or the Western diplomats often have tried to pull India down with regard to the sanctions by the Western nations over at Russia-Ukraine with regard to the war, sanctions on Russia due to the war. S. Jaishankar replied, "If I am smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me, not criticizing me," he says. So let's listen in to what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says.
Your question, do we have multiple options? Answer is yes. Is that a problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing. Now, is that a problem for other people? I don't think so. I don't think so, certainly in this case and in that case, because, look, we try to explain what are the different pulls and pressures which countries have. And it's very hard to have a unidimensional relationship. Now, again, different countries and different relationships have different histories. If I were to look, say, between the US and Germany, it is rooted, there's an alliance nature to it. There's a certain history on which that relationship is grounded. In our case, it's very different. So I don't want you to even inadvertently give the impression that we are purely and unsentimentally transactional. We are not. We get along with people, we believe in things, we share things, we agree on some things, but there are times when when you're located in different places, have different levels of development, different experiences. All of that gets into it. So life is complicated, life is differentiated. And I think it's very important today not to reduce the entire complexity of our world into very sweeping propositions. Yeah. I think that era is today behind us. Yeah. So I agree very much with what Tony said, which is good partners provide choices. Smart partners take some of those choices. But sometimes there will be choices on which you say, well, I think I'll pass up on that one.
So interesting snippet there. I'm bringing in now our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Bohan, for the latest on that. Geeta, first tell us what precisely was the question put to him, because having known Dr. S. Jaishankar and listening to all the crisp reactions that he gives, he's making it very clear that why should India ally how the West wants us to ally? We will go with what suits our domestic interest.
Absolutely, Pooja. The international media and international platforms where External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has participated, or any Indian representative in the past 2-3 years, particularly after the Russia-Ukraine war, the questions have been quite sharp to India on why should India continue. It was sharper back then. Now the world has started understanding why India has chosen or made the decisions that it has. However, the questions remain, not just on Russia-Ukraine, but now even on the Israel-Hamas war. So the External Affairs Minister, sitting beside Tony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, very clearly spelled out. The question was that he was sitting beside Tony, and has there ever been a problem? Is the U.S. upset with India's stand and position on Russia? To which his response was that, well, we have options. The fact that India has been a hard negotiator, he is on many occasions, even to us when we had conversations, spelled out how he himself is a very tough negotiator. And in that, India, in its diplomacy, has ensured that it has choices and that that this is not a bipolar world. And in a multilateral space, India will align with whichever country that it sees its interest in. And in this case, India's position very clear on why it is aligned with Russia. It doesn't only have to do with oil. Oil has come much after in the India-Russia relationship.
That's true.
It's the defense cooperation when nobody else came to India's rescue, when India was fighting Pakistan, or for that matter had trouble with China. The Russians did come. And so for India to change its entire defense
and way before the Western nations have become India's friend, Russia has been, specifically whether it was 1965, 1971 and thereby later as well. And India can still keep its independent policy and keep a distance from wars which have nothing to do with India. Appreciate you joining us, Geeta Mohan, for the latest on that, on why India is keeping its multiple options open when it comes to maintaining not just friendship with the US and Russia, but also ensuring when it comes to oil, to ensure domestic interests are taken care of.